Hi everyone, Marisa B here from Radiant Living. If you like what we're doing and want to keep the conversations going, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every time we upload a video. Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome to Radiant Living, Inspiring Humanity to Thrive. I'm Marisa B, and today I'd like to welcome a sacred artist who studied 20 years with the famous artist Harish Johari, whom the Sanatan Society, and I hope I'm saying that correctly, continues to study, apply, and teach the Indian Vedic and Tantric traditions that he started. She's a teacher, a doula trainer, a birth educator, lactation counselor. I'd like to welcome today Mavis Gewant. Correct? I hope I said your name right.
You did. I just want to turn the ringer off my phone because
Sure, that's
that
no problem at all.
that could be annoying. It says off. Okay.
Thank you for coming today. I know you're very busy. And as I just read, you do a lot of things and you also babysit your grandchildren. So I know that you're very busy. Can you
Yes.
tell me a little bit about, first of all, have you always been an artist? That's the first question.
Great question. Yes, I've always been an artist my whole life since I was a kid. I consider myself an artist, just like my 4.5-year-old granddaughter. Somebody asked her, "Do you want to be an artist when you grow up?" And she said, "I am an artist."
Yeah.
So yes, I I
Mhm.
have been an artist my whole life. And I did go to art school. I went to the
Mhm.
School of Visual Arts. So I was following a sort of traditional art
Mhm.
program. Yeah.
And
So
then
yeah,
how did you actually transition? Because first of all, can you explain a little bit about sacred art? I'm seeing a lot of this lately, and each artist works at a different medium, of course, and to them, sacred art, their pictures or their sentiments on the canvas, on the work of art is all different. How did you first of all transition to sacred art? And then can you explain a little bit about what it is?
sure. Um, I met my teacher, Harish Johari, um, in 1989. I think it's been a long time. And I think I was about 22 or 23 when I met him. And he was he did a lot of things, but one of the things
Mhm.
he was known for is his artwork. So I sort of got very interested in it. And what I understood about it is that, he started me on deity painting, which
Mhm.
is just figurative deities. And so I understood that by doing this practice, it helped me anyway to connect to the divine energy,
Mhm.
goddess energy, and also for me, it's a meditative practice because I saw that I could sit for like 6 hours straight without doing anything else. And also while painting, there are mantras that I chant that go along with the piece that I'm working with. So um I kind of got hooked on it. And then he started teaching workshops in the US on yantras, which is another thing that I do and I teach. So
Now I know
yantras
that
are, you know what they
he's
are?
called a bhakti, right? He's called it was a he was in the tradition of a bhakti artist. They were painting deities on the walls of temples, correct? In India, that's how he started. I mean, of course, he's known, as you said, author, teacher. He's known for so much more, yogi, but
Right.
I think that's the term. I could be mistaken, but I thought it was called bhakti that they painted on temple walls in India. And that's, I guess, as a child, he was always an artist as well, and he must have started doing that. So
Yeah.
it
Yes. And he used to hang out as a young man in the temple in his town.
mhm,
And he also met many sadhus in his life
mhm.
who, gave him lots of things. So, but anyway, from what I know, and there might be more, he was a sculptor and he sculpted deities, and I think he made like a Shiva. It was a fountain in the courtyard of the
Mm.
temple where the water come out from the top.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that's his interest was more, I think, in sculpting, but then it translated into painting. So
Mhm. And it is
um
true, if I'm saying it correctly, right? The Sanatan Society, they actually exist today, and they
yes.
continue on with his work. Now, are you part of
Hmm.
that? Are you part of that as
I'm
well
on
as
the
Living
website.
Study? You're part of it.
Yes,
And
definitely.
now I'm going to
Hmm.
ask, is that a piece behind you? That's one of your mandalas, right? Behind you, actually,
Oh
it's one
yeah,
of your pieces of work of art.
yes, it is. Yeah. That's it is there's a yantra in the middle. I did a whole series of goddesses, and this is the goddess Durga. So it's a Durga yantra in
Mhm.
the middle. And then I made the mandala based on this thing that I learned from him called the Vedic square.
Mhm.
And it's a number grid and it's connected to planets. So,
Mhm.
and because I was interested in astrology, it kind of aligned with me.
Mhm.
And so each deity, each person has a number that they can work with.
Mhm.
And
Now, explain what a yantra is. Can you explain what a yantra is? Because the yantra is different than the mandala, and you actually have
right.
put them together. So, what is the
Yeah.
yantra exactly?
Yeah, the yantra's in the middle. It's a geometric pattern or form of a deity or a planet.
Mhm.
So
Oh, how
it's
lovely.
very specific, it's geometric. We
Mhm.
use compasses and rulers to create it, and there's a formula.
Mhm.
And each yantra, each deity has a specific color, mantra that goes along with
Mhm.
it. So you
I mean, I could
you
see
don't
how
have
this is.
a lot of
I could see how
freedom.
is it as I can see how it's a meditative practice.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, as a therapist, I use art with clients, but I wouldn't say
Hmm.
I'm an artist. And because I'm always busy and I'm always doing, to me, I like art to relax, and I do use it almost as a meditative practice for myself when I get those few minutes to sit down and do something. So I can see how this is very, very meditative, but very spiritual, because that's what I was going to ask. It appears that the yantra there's calculations to discover this geometric pattern, and
Yes,
then you
there
go
is.
from there.
There's a calculation, there's a formula to make the yantras, and actually you can make them any size you want
Mhm.
as long as you have the formula, because you can, let's say I make the yantra in, hmm, let's say a 9.5 inch circle. I started using centimeters recently, but so I could double it. I can make it smaller, the circle. So the similarity between a mandala and a yantra is that they both actually start in a circle. Because
Mhm.
in order to make the
Mm.
yantra, you need a circle. Because you have to, there are divisions. So you divide your paper in half,
Mhm.
and that gives you the center point. So they all start the same way.
Mhm.
Find the center of your paper, and then you go from there.
Mhm. And what medium do
So,
you work in for that?
okay, well, if I'm just doing a straight yantra with no background or anything, I work in gouache,
Yeah, okay.
which is, you familiar with it?
Yes, a little bit, but can you tell the audience, for those that don't
Yeah,
know what it is?
it's an opaque watercolor. So it dries very nice and flat. And you can also use yantras for meditation where you stare at them. You stare at the center point, which is called the bindu, and you stare at them till, let's say, your eyes water, and then you close your eyes and you see the after image inside. But sometimes the colors change, when you stare at it. So
Mhm.
like with colors, like what it's doing on the outside
Mhm.
does something different on the inside of you. So some things that seem hot are actually cooling. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting process. And yeah, so
I would
that.
think, I would think so. And
Mm-hmm,
I would think so. I think people could be fooled. It's a lot more than one would think. It's a lot more in depth. There are many layers than
mm-hmm,
one would think. I could see how the work becomes um, a practice, more or less, really. In
mm-hmm.
addition to
Yeah,
art,
sure.
it's a practice. And then do you
Mhm.
work in other mediums? Because you do this in the
Yeah,
gouache, but do you work in other mediums as well?
I do. I want to just get something so you understand what
Yes,
I'm
I'd like
talking
to see.
about. Okay, so this technique that's in that painting is called, well, we used to just call it the wash painting technique, but now it's called the Harish Johari wash painting technique,
Okay.
which is a layered technique. So the
Mhm.
first step, well, I draw it and then I
Yeah,
paint it in
beautiful.
watercolor.
So
That's,
beautiful.
thank you. So this particular one is the planet Jupiter, and the
Hmm.
color associated with Jupiter is yellow. So the yantra is already the right color. And then
Hmm.
I work off those colors when I do this. Now, the next thing that happens to this, and it's scary for people, you put it
Hmm.
in water.
Yes.
And some of the colors come out and you lose them. But yeah, so that's part of the process. And for me, it's a lot of it is about surrender because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
You kind of know, but you really don't know. And then um once you leave in the water for a little bit and you don't see any more color come out, you take it out and you lay it flat on
Hmm.
newspaper so that it dries. Once it's dried, that's called fixing. So once it's dried, it's completely dry. You can paint on top of it and none of the paint will mix in with anything that you do. And the next step is the wash, which I do with gouache.
Hmm.
So I usually pick three colors, start in the middle with the lightest color, and then go
Hmm.
like over the whole thing. So that's how you get that effect. It's like the colors
Like almost
underneath
like
come.
3D, almost 3D
Yeah,
looking with some sort of
exactly.
right, not only 3D, but some sort of translucent quality
That's what,
that
yeah,
glides on the top. Yes.
yes.
Now,
And
do
that's
you
what,
teach this? Do you teach this? Because this is so fascinating to me. This would seem that
mhm.
this would be a method that many people would want to try.
Yes, I have taught it in person at workshops. So I always offer it as an option for students
Mhm.
if they want to learn it. So I will do it with them and teach them. And also, yeah, I have students that have been working with me for a long time. So, they always want to
Right.
learn it. It's like, "Hey, we're ready." So,
Now, do you have to be an artist? Do you have to be an artist to do this?
not at all.
No.
Just have to be open to
Hmm.
wanting to do it because I've noticed in some of my, oh, sorry, workshops, especially when people are making yantras, it does bring up things for you. And
Hmm.
some people it's interesting for me to see it. Some people get triggered by old
Hmm.
messages of wanting to be doing artwork, but they weren't encouraged.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
so they sort of get frustrated at some point and they don't want to continue.
Hmm.
But somehow I push them through it and they finish it. So you don't have to be an artist to do that at all. And it's,
Because
I think people, yeah,
I would think
go ahead.
because of the when people hear well, I know when I hear watercolor is like very difficult. It's one I think it's one of the most difficult mediums to work in because there's really
Mm.
little control, or you have to learn techniques to control it. It's not that easy to deal with watercolor. So when I hear watercolor, I'm already fearful that how messy is that going to be for me? But and then you say, as an artist, if I were an artist and I did this beautiful work like you just showed us, and then I'm sticking it in water, that would make me even more, I guess, stressed.
You get nervous. And then when you put the washes on top, when you first put it on, when the paint's still wet, it's like, where did it go? You know, it's like you lost your whole thing. And then once it dries, then you put it back in the water, the same thing. It's every layer you do that, and you have to fix it, because if you don't fix it, you can't paint on top of it. And then the next layer, I do watercolor, so I alternate. And sometimes I like my wash the way it is, so I don't do another one. So it's like, to me, it's like a puzzle, you know, trying to solve like, well, what color am I going to put here? You know, because it's not always what you think. So it changes.
And so many layers, right? So many layers,
Yes.
so many layers, and so changing. And exactly what you said, just like life, right? You never really know what it's going to be. You know, you can plan, right? You can plan as much as you want, but it still surprises you. Yeah.
Exactly. So by doing the watercolor on top, that's what brings out all the layers, because watercolor is transparent.
Yes. Now, do you sell this work?
I do, and I also do, like the one I just showed you, that's a commission for somebody who had just gotten a sun yantra mandala for me. And when I sent it to him, he said, "Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Can you make me a Jupiter one the same size?" So I'm like, "Yes, I can." I mean, I love doing commissions for people, you know, because I get something from it too. It's not just, you know, I mean, beneficial for me as well. Because it's,
sure, I could see that. I could see that because it is a practice for you.
Right,
And
exactly.
now, do you give them the original? Because now when we're talking in the vein of artists, many artists do an original and then they make prints. And do you give the original to the client?
Yes, they get the original. Yeah. I do sometimes sell prints, but to find a really good printer is not always easy.
Right. Right.
So especially up where I live, it's, you know, not, I haven't found one yet, but.
How small have you made them and how large have you made them? Because you say you can make them in any size, but it is, again, a geometric configuration to make it that size. It's just not arbitrary.
Right. No. Well, also it depends on the size of my paper too. Because if I have a really big paper, then I'll make it bigger. And the one behind me, the paper is 16 by 20. Because that's like a standard size that I use Arches paper, watercolor paper.
And as I was going to say, is that a watercolor paper?
Yeah, it's cold pressed, 140. It's great paper, especially for the washers, because it can hold a lot of water. Yeah, because I've done it on cheaper papers, and it's very frustrating.
And what's the largest you've ever done? What's the largest that you've ever created?
I personally have not done anything really large. I probably 18 by 24. That's not so big.
Because that's but that's a lot of work already because you're doing many layers on it. So it's a lot of work already.
And you have to find something that you could put it in. You could put it in your bathtub.
Right.
Well, this size, which I'm doing, is square. Well, it will be square. I'm going to cut it. So it's 12 by 12, I think. So I could fit that in my sink in the kitchen. So I put it in there.
Right, to soak, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Now, do you do other work? Do you do other work besides this work? Or is this what you've been doing now for quite a while, this type of art?
Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. And sometimes, like recently, I started to get interested in maybe doing something else.
Mhm.
but I haven't. And
Mhm.
I don't know, like I would love to take like a really good, like, what do you call it? Plein air
Yes, plein air,
watercolor
yes. Hmm.
class where you learn how to paint landscapes
Yes.
with watercolor techniques, because the techniques I use are different. So I'm
Hmm.
curious to see, how what that would be like. It would be fun for
Right.
me. Yeah.
How that's done, yeah. And I know people they use oils too, right? They do oil and acrylic as well in plein air. But that plein air for
Right.
people that are listening is that you actually go out to the location. You're sitting in the environment. You're painting what you actually see right then and there. I'm wondering if they take pictures. Do they take pictures and take them back with them? No, it's actually painting while you're there. I
No,
believe it
yeah,
has to be
that's not,
painting while you're there.
yeah, it's not like you do it from a photograph. You do it from
Right.
life.
Yes. Yeah, you have to be there and do it right then and there. I know there's a lot of contests too for that. There are some people that are very good at it. There's a lot of contests. But because an artist, I guess they're always stretching themselves, right? You're always
Mm-hmm.
moving in. But the reason why I had you on today, because this is really a way of life for you. This is really a meditative practice. It's not just that you're an artist, because you're
Right.
also a doula trainer. You've been a lactation counselor. I mean, you're actually a birth educator. So your actual job is actually out there in the public, right? Helping others in the
Mhm.
area of doula work and training and birth education. So this is something that's a meditative practice, but you offer it to people and you're teaching people. So I find this fascinating. How does your structure work? Like, how long does it take you to do this, and how long do you teach others? Like, is this an ongoing class? I don't think you could learn this just in one day. I know I couldn't.
Well, formats are usually like um, a weekend workshop. So you can learn it in a weekend, but you have to practice when you go home.
Mhm.
Um, I also run longer retreats where
Mhm.
people can study with me. Like I have one coming up in India. I have two coming up in India. I usually take people.
Mhm.
And so usually the focus of the next one is on Hanuman,
Mhm.
the monkey god. I don't know if you're
Yes.
familiar,
Yes.
but
I know. I've heard of him, but yes.
yeah, he's um the grand, or the Bhakti,
Mhm.
whatever you call
Yes.
it, ocean. So we're going to this place called Kanchi where Neem Karoli Baba used to live. He was a
Mhm.
famous guru that he was Krishna Das's guru and all those
Mhm.
singers that you are probably familiar with.
Mhm.
And a lot of people just go there on pilgrimage.
Mhm.
And so in that retreat, I'm going to be teaching the Hanuman yantra that I know. There are
Mhm.
many yantras, different forms, different things, but I just teach from the tradition that
Mhm.
I know.
So now
Yeah.
how is so you're taking you're going to India, you're taking a group of people to India to learn this technique. You're working on a specific yantra for a specific deity. How for example do people find out about these kinds of trips that you're doing or these courses that you're taking? Do you have a website where people
I
can see
do.
what's going on?
I have a website. It is sacredmotherarts.com,
Okay.
and I advertise on there. I also have a pretty active Instagram page
Mhm.
and Facebook,
Well, I'm going to put all that in the description
social
so people
media.
can see it. I'll list it
Yeah.
all in the description at the bottom of the video in the
Okay.
box so that people can actually click on it and go and see, because I think that that's really interesting to go actually not just now to learn it here as a practice, but to actually go out to India. Now you're in an
Yeah.
environment, you're doing a specific yantra. And
Right.
how often do you do those trips?
Well, this year I'm going to be doing two. I did one last year at the same time, and um, I'm working with an organization now called Mystic Art Retreats.
Hmm.
So that's their focus. Go to like spiritual places,
Hmm.
and it's like
Hmm.
there's always art involved somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So last year we did this one called Seats of Power, and we went to this part of India called Dharamshala. That's where the Dalai Lama lives.
Hmm.
And there are at least, well, there are many temples in that area, but we went to like 5 goddess temples, and
Oh,
they're called
wow.
Shakti beats, very
Hmm.
powerful. And so I taught 2 of the yantras of 2 of the goddesses that
Hmm.
we went. And that was great. I mean, it was a great experience to go to the temple. We brought our yantras to the temple. They got blessed, things like that,
Hmm.
So
And when's
that
this
was
trip now? You're going shortly. You're going to this next
yeah,
trip.
it's called Heart of Hanuman. Yeah, we're going October 29th is when the trip
Hmm.
starts. And then the other one is going to be sometime in March. I don't have the exact
In the
dates
spring.
yet.
In the
Yes.
spring.
So if people go on my website, they can
Hmm.
sign up for my email list,
Yeah. Oh,
and
that's nice. Yes.
I'll send you, information about upcoming trips and
Mhm.
workshops, and people always have the option of studying with me privately.
Right. And do
Um,
you do online? You also do online because now we've
yeah,
all gone that route as
I
well.
had to. I had to start that during COVID, of course,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
all the places that I used to teach workshops sort of closed down
Yes.
or
Yes.
weren't taking people to come in. So
Hmm.
I was like, well, how could I keep doing this?
Hmm.
So I was doing group classes, yantras,
Hmm.
specific yantras. We had like a series. And it worked. I figured out,
Hmm.
because I personally like when somebody's right next to me because I could
Right.
see what they're doing.
Hmm.
And if they're making a mistake, I could correct them right away so they
Hmm.
don't going and making
Hmm.
mistakes. So, because it's sort of technical in a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I
So
thought for therapy, that I preferred in person. But then I
yeah,
realized that, you know, there are people all over the world that want to learn things. They want to have contact with others. They want to
right.
interact. And I found that it was, the world really is at our fingertips that way. But I know
Yeah.
what you're
So
saying, that especially the technical aspect of the art.
yeah, but it works. I mean, I figured out how to make it work, and it
Hmm.
does. And people seem to have gotten a lot out of the classes.
Hmm.
And I have people all over the world, which I love
Hmm.
because they're,
Yes.
well, different time zones and all that you
Hmm.
have to figure. But yeah, it's great.
It's true. And then, so that can people see any of the online classes on your website also? They can find
Yeah,
out about that as well.
I have like a schedule of upcoming classes and workshops on the website. And yeah, actually my next local workshop is at Ananda Ashram, which is
Yes.
in Harriman, New York.
Yes.
And
That's a large ashram.
yeah, it's nice size. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the room they give us for the class is great because we could leave all our stuff there, and people are welcome at any time of the day to go
Hmm.
in there and work on do their artwork.
Hmm.
So that's really nice. And
Now, do you travel to the other ashrams? Because there's quite a few, at least in New York, I know there are quite a few. Do you travel to those as well to do classes?
yeah, I was for a couple of years working teaching at Shivananda Yoga Ranch. That's in New York. And but then they kind of they weren't letting people come there. So
Hmm.
and the same, they have an ashram in the Bahamas, which
Oh, wow.
I taught at for at least a good 10 years. So
Oh, that's
that
nice.
yeah, it's great for me. I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a
And
nice
so what's
beach.
next for you? Oh, yeah, I can imagine. Just imagine going on the beach. I mean, so you're very, very busy. You're very busy, and you do travel all over.
I
Um,
do. I love traveling, and I started to get busy with it like I don't know, in an astrological um period was a Saturn period. And somebody
mhm.
said to me, well, you're going to be working really hard in your Saturn period. And I had no idea how that was going to work because sometimes you
Hmm.
don't see it coming. And then all of a sudden, every year I was taking groups to India.
Hmm.
These like long retreats for
And how
painting.
long do you
So,
stay there? How long do you stay there on the retreats? How long of a trip were they usually?
um, well, this one that we're doing in October is shorter. It's about a week, but
Hmm.
usually it's about 2 weeks,
Hmm.
you know,
Oh,
and if
nice.
people want to stay longer, they can, you know,
Hmm.
we have all kinds of options for people. Help them with traveling if they're going somewhere else in India,
Hmm.
because 2 weeks is not really a lot of time to be in India.
Right,
If
right.
you're
Especially when you're
going
making a
that
trip
far,
like that. Yes.
yeah, you might as well stay and see some other things.
Hmm. Yes.
So,
And so
yeah, so
with all this going on, what else is coming down the line for you? I mean, how do you even plan for that? Because you're so busy, you're physically busy because you're going to other locations in the world. So how do you actually plan to do other things? Where do you see yourself going next?
well, I really love teaching and I love traveling. So I see myself doing more of that for sure. Um, I have like a couple years planned, but without dates
Hmm.
set. Um, and that's what I like to do. And the other thing I like doing is making paintings for people.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean that does take time. It's
Oh,
like
I'm sure.
these paintings take me a long time. So anybody that orders from me, I let them know. Expect a month. It's
Hmm. Yeah, so
just
yeah, well, it's intricate. It's intricate. So there's a
yeah,
lot
and all
there.
right. Since I do other things during the week,
Hmm. Yes.
because like you mentioned, oh, I'm a grandmother. Yeah, I take care of
Hmm.
my grandchildren sometimes.
Hmm.
So that cuts into my schedule. So
Hmm.
I have to plan everything. And thank God for the calendar on my iPhone because I have
Yes.
things in there and
Hmm.
have to schedule everything around everything.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yes,
it's fun.
that's just how, right? That's how life goes. I mean, we have to schedule everything,
Yeah, it's
especially when
great.
we have so many things we're doing. But I'd like to ask you about the Sanatan Society. How can somebody find out about that? I mean, do they specifically, um, to be affiliated with that, do you specifically have had to study under Harish Johari? Is that how it works with them?
It should be. Yeah, the person that made the website, he was a student of my teacher. His name is Peter Marchand.
Hmm.
And yes, so the purpose of the website was to put students on there that were continuing the work.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, basically. And they have a website. I think it's sanatansociety.org, I believe. Yeah.
I'll put that down too, so people
And
can
you
see.
could
Now, where
see
can
your
people see your work? Can they go to your, well, I know you're on all the social media, but can they see your work? Do you show your work? Do you show at galleries or?
sometimes.
Mhm.
I had a show last year. I live in Beacon. So I saw that somebody had like a call for artists, and
Mhm.
it seemed like it was sort of a spiritual theme because,
Right.
my work is really specific. So
Right. Yes, exactly.
yeah, I applied for it and I got accepted and they put this painting was in it and
Oh,
was,
nice.
yeah. So I got some interesting feedback from people. I didn't sell anything, but that's okay. It was
Hmm.
just, I like to watch people's reactions and hear what they say because it's not something you normally see in a gallery,
Right.
so
Right.
people would like look at it and because that it's a different kind of painting technique than most people paint with. Like people paint with acrylics and
Yeah.
oils and yeah.
Yes, but it's definitely very definitely a type, a type. Like when you look at, well, at least I know when I looked at it, I knew right away
Right.
that there were multiple layers and levels, and it was definitely not just the appreciation of the artist that does it, as a
Mm-hmm.
meditative practice, but the people who are looking at it, because you can very well get lost in it, in that
Yes, of
work.
course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I would say it's like energy art, you know. I mean, if I would say
mhm,
anything about it, because there's a lot of energy that goes into it. And when you're chanting mantra internally, the painting gets infused with that
mhm,
energy of that particular planet or deity, whatever you're
mhm,
working on. So people feel it energetically when they look at it.
mhm.
You know, there's something coming off of it that you know, of course, all artwork, the artist is very focused and puts their energy into it. So I think you feel it in most art pieces, but this is
Mhm.
a little bit different. So yeah,
And your work can be seen on your website.
on my website and Instagram,
Mhm. Right.
I
So you have
post a
it
lot.
also, right?
Yeah.
I'll make sure everybody gets the links for that. I do want to thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I know this is just like a little glimpse of what you do and how it works, and
Hmm.
and a technique that is important to you, a technique that
Hmm.
is interesting to so many people. I do want I really enjoyed speaking with you. I was so thrilled when you said that you had a little bit of time to come on and discuss it with
Hmm.
the audience. And hopefully everybody will take a look at the website, see your work, and they'll appreciate it. And I mean, oh my gosh, to go to India, to take a trip to
Yeah,
not
come
only
to
go to
India.
India, but to
Everybody's
learn. Yeah.
so much fun. No, really, it is.
Right.
Um, we always stay in nice places, so anybody that's worried, you know, because India
Right.
has a reputation, you know, like I used to think that first time I
Hmm.
went there, but we only stay in nice places, so it's comfortable. We make it comfortable for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, right. I'm assuming because you've gone so many times and you do this trip that you know where to go. You know, it's all in what you know.
True. And also I work with a great producer for Mystic Art Retreats. His name is Mukul, and he that's what he's great at, is like finding these places for
Mhm.
us to stay. Like in the next trip, we're all staying in a guest house. So it's smaller. We're
Oh,
taking
nice.
only 7 people on that trip,
Hmm.
and we're almost filled. So
Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, I would
yeah.
assume so. I would assume you're busy all the time. But again, Mavis, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, I'll be able to come out and see your work. You'll have to keep me posted if you're going to be at any of the galleries in New York. It would be lovely to
Yeah,
come out and see it firsthand.
sure, sure. That would be nice.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon. I thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.